All right, guys, I'm Kervin with Busted Knuckle Transmissions. Got Jason behind the camera here. We're getting ready to go into this Fire Punk built 48RE. It's a full manual valve body trans, actually in a 2018 Cummins. Swapped in, lost reverse. So yeah, we'll see what we find in here. Let's get to work. Pull our TV. And our shift lever. Oh, someone changed that bolt out. We're going to crack loose our second gear band here. Get that way out. We'll pull our neutral safety switch. Ooh. A lot of dirt in those threads. A little tip on these bolts like to twist off. So if you just kind of wrap this with a hammer, you can kind of break that break the seal there. Yep, comes right out then. Take these bolts out good. Gonna flip it over. Actually, you know what? Change of plans. Stand by. Now for the pan. Oh yeah, we got some debris in there. All right, so now we're going after the valve body. We got a bunch of 11s here to hold that on. 3 on the top, 4 right here, 3 on the bottom. Hit back like that. Gently tap on the wire harness on that side, and hey, came right out. Often, the park pawl here will get stuck in you're basically stuck in park, and you have to tilt the trans and turn the output shaft, but we got that out. We'll pull the spring out of here. This is oh my. So, yeah, I backed that out already. I forgot. I was about to get excited. I thought the second gear band was broke or something, but okay. So we've got our strut and our anchor that apply the second gear band. These are all upgraded parts. Since this is already a built Fire Punk trans, you can see those parts were billet. This is billet. This is an aluminum piston, kind of a 2-piece design. This is aluminum instead of the factory plastic that cracks. This is the full manual valve body setup here. We've got a billet retainer and an upgraded ply servo in here. As you can see, this is way too much clearance. This nut is tight, so we probably have a broken rear band. I've only ever seen that very few times, but that's sure what it looks like there. All right, I'll get the pump out. All right, so we got the pump bolts out. You have to excuse me sweating like a pig. I got flown down to Florida to build 2 of these transmissions, and yeah, this Pennsylvania boy ain't used to that. But anyway, to get the pump out, you can either drive bolts through. This hole and this hole are threaded. And you can either drive bolts down through, which the overdrive bolts work great for that. You can put the overdrive bolts in and just run it through. Or you can come right in here with a pry bar and pop that pump right up out. Grab it. Ta-da. Now something to see here. Notice there's a groove right there for a sealing ring. When they build these with a high pressure valve body, a lot more pressure than they're designed for, they actually remove this ring, or you will overcharge the torque converter and actually balloon the torque converter, even a billet aftermarket one. So that's missing by design. And you got your pump spacer here. This is used to set end play. You got your metal sealing rings here. So now we're going to get into the meat of it. This is a billet input shaft. The way you can tell is the splines go straight into the shaft. There's no step down. The factory one would actually be neck down after the splines. So we're going to grab this and we're going to pop the direct and forward drum out. So now we've got our direct clutches. Oh boy. I'm not quite sure what happened here. I'm thinking it was maybe installed incorrectly or something really bound up in the trans. It actually ate this plastic thrust washer. Fortunately, we bought a core trans yesterday off Marketplace, so we'll be able to steal this out of that core transmission. So now we've got our direct clutches. That clearance feels right to me, but we'll pop it apart, check them, and then measure our clearance with a feeler gauge going back together. So this is a 6-clutch direct pack setup with Raybus's GPZs. There's a little bit of heat there on a few of those steels. We have new parts. We're going to go ahead and replace these. Yeah, they were slipping badly for a little while there. Or some debris went through it. I'm not sure what happened there. We've got a machined backing plate you can fit. Factory would have had 5 clutches and steels. This has 6. So yeah, we're going to definitely replace that. Now we'll get into our forwards. We can sit them right here. And they're badly burnt as well. I suspect either this truck makes a lot of power and was abused, or something wasn't adjusted right with the shifter setup, ran low on fluid, something. He said it lost reverse, but yet we're finding every clutch pack burnt. So something odd is going on there. It'll be interesting to see what we find. Here we got our second gear band. It's in pretty good shape. It's gotten hot. I'm not sure. Yeah, maybe a cooler issue. It's gotten hot, but it doesn't look like it's slipped.
How can you tell it got hot?
So it's really dark. Let me grab a factory one. You can see how much darker that is.
Oh yeah.
I mean, obviously they're going to darken with use. Like that's
right.
going to happen. But something's fishy about that as well. All right. So the next thing we're going to pull out is the gear train and intermediate shaft assembly. It's a little sticky. There we go. We'll split this down a little later and check all the thrust washers, replace them. So now we're going after the low reverse drum and band. We've got a C-clip here. Oh my, look at that. That band went metal to metal. Absolutely destroyed that drum. Fortunately, we got a new one here. Put that over here. Now we'll grab the band. Yeah, look at that. Not good. Now we'll pull this sprag out. Careful not to let it go flying. There we go. Sit that in the drum for safekeeping. You can stand by for a second. We'll get this thing up here on the operating table and tear it the rest of the way down. So yesterday's 47 RE build was so welded together, we couldn't get it apart. I had to go grab a core trans off Facebook Marketplace. We met a character. We'll have to maybe throw some videos in of him.
I don't know if that's a good idea.
Yeah. We'll probably have to bleep out every other word, but he was a true Florida redneck. So anyway, we do have a spare thrust washer, fortunately. That's not something that would generally be replaced. But yeah, we're going to have to take some time and clean this up. Maybe get a little wire wheel in here or something to get this plastic out of it. We'll get that later. But yeah, there's the one that was in there. That's interesting.
That thing got hot.
Yeah, I think it might have just got so hot that it collapsed, and that's what actually happened. All right, we got it gutted. So we'll just grab the trans. We'll make it a mess on the way over.
Look at him handle that transmission like it's a newborn baby.
Oh, gentle, with love even. Okay. Overdrive housing. Nope. We got our overdrive spacer, bearing, and piston right here. Came out of the assembly. it's not wanting to come out right now, but. And let's get into the overdrives here. We've got a little retainer snap ring. This holds the clutches in place for assembly. And we've got a machined plate here, as well as generally there would be 2 snap rings right here. I get rid of the second wavy snap ring to add clutches there to the overdrive.
I can't see.
Yeah, I'll pop this out here. Generally, these would be double stacked. But it'll ride right there in the snap ring like that. See what these look like. These actually look phenomenal. Probably going to reuse those. Doesn't make sense to replace a perfectly fine part. So now we got those clutches out, those snap rings out. We're going to get our pliers right here. We're going to grab and wiggle. Probably not going to work because American Airlines stole my pliers. Double up here. Yep. Set that there. Now this is a billet fat shaft. This is a much bigger diameter shaft than the factory one. You have to change your input on the transfer case, but this is just about unbreakable then for the big horsepower stuff. Now this assembly, we're going to pop this apart and we're going to check the clutches down in here. These are called the overdrive directs that are down in here. We'll pop this apart in the press and we'll replace the snap ring as their very common failure point. They break. So stand by. We'll get to that in a second.
This is the bomb.
Yes. So there is a 600-pound spring down in here. So you want to be very, very careful. I actually have and it also needs to be aligned on reassembly. I have an alignment tool, but American Airlines has that as well as my nice snap ring pliers. I couldn't fly with them because it was a dangerous item. So then they lost them, but we'll be fine.
A plane or something.
Yeah, that's true. I should have. Maybe I would have got here on time.
No, that should work.
There's a wavy snap ring there, which we'll replace. All right, so we pushed that down. We got that snap ring out. There's actually another snap ring in here. We're not going to bother pulling that unless we find some wear in here. Now we'll pull our overdrive directs apart. These are very, very rarely damaged. We're going to go ahead and reuse these.
Brand new.
Yeah, if these have an issue, 99% of the time the transmission was built incorrectly, or the big 600-pound spring in here has weakened. We do not need to take this apart. This surface here can wear. This bearing will actually press into this bearing, I guess, race you would call it, support. But since that's okay, we do not have to worry about taking this on apart, getting this wire retainer ring out of down in there. So we'll just put that to the side here. We'll just lift some of this stuff out just to make sure everything looks okay. Make sure this sprag rotates. Yep, it rotates counterclockwise, locks clockwise, so that's good there. We'll wiggle all these pinions. We're all good there. We'll drop that back in. Get a little Vaseline to retain this bearing. Normally I would use trans gel, but I couldn't fly with that, so Vaseline will work in a pinch. Petroleum jelly. On a bearing, so Tech Tip Friday. Any bearing that has a rounded edge on one edge and a sharp edge on the other, the rounded edge will always go towards what it sits over. So the shoulder will always be down if it has, if this is the retainer. If you put it this way, it actually won't go on in this case, but often they can. This is called a Torrington bearing. There's needles in here, you can just see. But yeah, that's your Tech Tip. If you're not sure which way it goes, that's how you know. So now, gently put that in, press down and spin to make sure it's good. And then we'll start stacking it back up. If you notice something here, here's another tech tip. See how this steel doesn't have the little cuts on it like the rest of them do? This is aftermarket. They're using a earlier clutch or steel that's just a little wee bit thicker to increase the overall height of this stack. Not really something that's important, but if you tear one apart and you see that, just know that it's already been rebuilt. That's not factory. It's just a slight upgrade there. So now, I should have an alignment tool to put this back together, but it's at the airport somewhere. So I'm going to try to line these splines up as good as I can. Way off now. Can you hold that for a sec, Jason?
Yeah.
Yeah. Try to get this way. We're going to use the intermediate shaft as our alignment tool. Come on now. Shine down in there again once. Way off, not even close. There we go. See how close we are there? Perfect. So now we're going to all right, so now we're going to gingerly take this back apart. We'll drop this on here and carefully carry this over to the press. Try to realign this without shifting the splines. Dropped right in there. Now let's see how lucky we got on that spline adjustment. Oh boy, we're perfect. That shouldn't be an issue. All right, so the next thing coming out is the overdrive piston support. The overdrive piston rides in here, and then once we pop this out, I'll show you what it supports. So, these bolts are 3/8. They're very soft. You want to make sure you have a nice, kind of a fresh socket for them. Now,
Is this the transmission's emotional support hub?
yes. So this is where the low reverse drum ride, you can see that gulds up. If you have contamination or a plug cooler, this will weld to your drum. And also weld inside here to your intermediate shaft that passes through that. So I always upgrade these to a Sonax part. It's made out of billet aluminum. I've actually never had one of those galled to the intermediate shaft. I've had them mess up the low reverse drum very, very slightly, but you can get it right apart. So that's a nice upgrade. Worth doing every time, in my opinion. Put over. We've got our servos in here. We're going to air check these. Make sure that everything's okay. Let me grab my flow nozzle. Generally, I would be using a rubber tipped blow nozzle on these, but we're down south. Yeah, see how that holds out? It comes back somewhat slowly. That's what you're looking for there. Let's check the low reverse. You don't want to go too hard and overextend them. Normally, you should check these with the bands in the case, but now look, notice how that cocks in the bore. See how that's laid over like that? Mm-hmm. We're actually going to remove that. We're going to upgrade this to a superior servo to keep this from happening again. By design, this would keep it a little straighter, so it's not the end of the world. So yeah, we'll do that upgrade. This is an upgraded piece right here. The factory would be just a cheap stamped steel one that likes to blow out. Now, one thing I'm curious about, this does not feel like a stiff enough spring to me for a full manual valve body. Generally, there's either a double spring, they put them together in here, or they put a real heavy spring, like you can't just push down with your thumb and replace this retainer. Unfortunately, I'm in Florida. I have them on the shelf at my house, which is not helpful at all. So, yes, that's exactly what happened. There should also be a spacer in here if it's a full manual valve body. There should be a spacer right here. This is a bit of a situation, boys. I'm not sure what we're gonna do.
So this trans wasn't built for a full manual valve
That's correct.
body.
It was not built for a full manual valve body, so the low reverse band, it's called the low reverse band. It's used in manual low or reverse. With a full manual valve body, first on the ratchet shifter is low. Suncoast is about an hour and a half away. We may end up having to send someone to Suncoast for this. Stand by. Breakdown on the low reverse servo. What had happened here, when you go to the full manual valve body, since the low reverse band is used all the time, every time you put it in first gear, you have to basically get rid of this spring in here. So this would be the factory setup like this. It would go in the case like so. This aftermarket piston has 2 support rings and the sealing ring that would go down, so much less chance of it getting kind of twisted and caught in the bore. So what we had to do, since we didn't have the parts with us, we went and got some lock washers, and we're going to try to shim this up to the correct thickness. I need to be able to put this, I need to be able to get that snap ring out. So that's not quite enough. So what I bought is some C-clips as well. And now I wish I would have bought some more of these. But I believe we should be able to put these on. And then our spacer here. And then we should be able to, this way, just get our snap ring in. Yeah, that's pretty much perfect right there. So now we'll put our spring back in. Honestly, it's not needed now, but we're going to put it back in anyway. Now we're going to clamp this down and get that snap ring back on. I think we're going to have to probably pause the camera for that. That's going to be a 2-man job. All right, so the other thing we need is a quicker release on the low reverse band, since it's being used a lot more to get a lot more pressure to it. So what we did, we had to go to the local TransStar and buy a Transgo shift kit and steal 1 spring out of that kit. So what we're going to do, this real heavy duty, this real heavy duty white spring, we're going to put that in. Now we're going to put this one down over it. Now it's going to jam if we put it back in the way it was. So we're actually going to have to flip this servo cover over. So we're going to end up putting this thing in like so. Corner started. Walk this around. There we go. There we go. You can watch that servo come up and slowly return when I let my pressure off. That is an ideal fit right there. All right, next is our band apply lever. Let's put that in. All right, so now what we've got is our updated Sonax overdrive piston support. And then the gasket that goes under it. You'll see it has an O-ring here to improve the seal. The factory one does not. These are some plugs that don't come in it. If this was a 47RH hydraulically controlled transmission, there would be two tubes from the valve body that would go in here. But we plug those off. So put this in like so. These should be torqued, but we didn't have the right set torque wrench. So,
What should they be torqued to?
I believe it's 11 foot-pounds. I'd have to look it up for sure. But I built enough of these to know that about that tight is right.
Yeah, 11 foot-pounds is not terribly tight.
No.
My gauge for about 18 is choke all the way up on the head of a ratchet and then tighten it as tight as you can.
So now, in our hole there, we'll get our new reverse drum, since the other one was destroyed. Okay.
Oh, that's a nice shiny piece of equipment.
Now we'll grab this sprag. We'll drop this puppy in. Back it up a little bit. On a sprag, any sprag, you want the rollers to go up, the spring to push the rollers uphill. Which is exactly what's happening there. So now we'll drop this drum in. It will spin clockwise, lock counterclockwise. And then we'll remember we forgot our low reverse band, so we'll pull it back apart. We're running out of time. Jason's got to leave for the airport in 2 hours. I got to leave in the morning. So we'll put this in like so. We'll throw our thrust washer in. Our C-clip. Go. Intermediate shaft and associated gear train planetaries. Ouch. Woo.
Good?
Yep, roll my thumbnail back. There we go. That's in good. Now we're going to put our new clutches and all here in our forwards. Got our fly plate. Put that in. Clutch. Seal. Clutch. Seal. Clutch. Seal. Clutch. Packing plate. And snap ring. Then grab a feeler gauge. Spec is about 30 thou on this. If we can get this 25 gauge in, we'll call it good. We cannot. Let's get a different snap ring for in there. That's more like it. Yep, 25's got a little bit of play, so we're good there. Now we'll flip this over and we'll line the splines up in here. That's good. We got our splines lined up now. Now we're going to try to clean this up here with something. Got to figure that out yet. This isn't as clean as I would like it to be, but we're running out of time and options, so.
A little bit of grit will be caught in the filter, won't it?
Yeah, these 48s are so tough. If this was a new 10-speed trans, I wouldn't be, yeah, we'd be figuring something out. I'd be changing my plate or something, but yeah, I've rebuilt these in the dirt at the racetrack and slapped them back together dirty, and they've done just fine.
Just like an LS.
Yep, exactly.
Tough as nails.
Now we're gonna build our direct drum stuff. So he had fire pump put in 6 clutches with 4 thick steels and 2 thin. So let's find that. 2 thin. 80 thou. 85. That's about perfect. We'll stack these up dry here. See what our clearance is. There is no clearance. That is far too tight. We're gonna put a bunch more thin steels in there. I think we're gonna end up with 1 thick steel. Let me see what this snap ring is. That would be a much easier way. That was a 90. This is a 60. Still not quite enough. Let's see what we got there. See if we can get 70, at least 70. I'd like to see 85 on this clearance. Be a little over 75 there. That's too tight. We'll switch out the, let's dump these out. Switch out the bottom 2 steels. Pump gasket. Line that up like so. Grab our pump here. Okay. All right. Now we'll pause a second and clean this up. Are those the threaded bolts? Yeah. No reason to start with 2 other than just, there we go. Pop that in. Now we're going to assemble the overdrive section, put it on, check our end play. If it's good, put our valve body on it, and we'll be dialed. So now, I'm going to put some new seals on this.
Man, the keyboard warriors are going to stroke out at this.
Yeah. Okay. We've got some little alignment dials right here. Now this inner lip seal normally isn't too much trouble due to the taper. There we go. Now we're in our dials. Started enough you can kind of rock it. Then you get your lip wizard here, or feeler gauge, or a cut piece of washer fluid bottle, or whatever you need to walk this puppy in. I thought I was going to make it look easy there for a second, but hey, not bad. Our overdrive stuff. Let's see what we can set here. Instructions. So what we do here is we drop this shim in, and this big bearing will now ride on this shim instead of relying on the snap ring sitting in this groove to secure this stuff in place. So we drop this in. We'll drop our snap ring in. And that broken thumbnail is making it a pain. I should cut that off for it. It's torn off. So now, this is how I do it. I'm not sure if it's the best way, but it works well for me. I flip them upside down like so. Again here, and again, don't have my pliers. I got a message my pliers are getting delivered.
Just in time for us to be done.
Yeah. It's kicking my butt. Something's way off with it. See if it'll fall out or snap back in, one or the other. Hey. I think we're good. So we'll pry in here and see what the snap ring feels like. Yeah, sometimes you just gotta get mad and throw them on the floor. Bearing. Gasket. Overdrive housing. Since we don't have the tool, it may be a little tricky. Didn't have the alignment tool, it may be a little bit of a problem to get this back on. We're gonna test fit it, and then we're gonna put the clutches back in. So, yeah, I think we'll get it. Ain't right. We're just gonna go ahead and build it. Finish building it here. All right. So the overdrive brakes are going in. Got our snap ring. Got our machine fly plate. I'm sorry, backing plate. And we're gonna reuse these clutches and steels. This guy just bought this truck, and I think 3 weeks later the trans went out, and I mean we figured out why. That the reverse band went metal to metal, plugged the filter, lost pressure, and smoked the other clutches. I'm dripping sweat in there so bad.
Nothing like a little salt. Gotta season that puppy up.
Got our wire retainer ring here. Not quite in right. There we go. Now let's blow this out, get the sweat out. Really? All right, that went right together. Now we're gonna grab our air drive bolts here.
Do these need to be torqued?
Yes.
How many foot pounds?
It's terrible that I can't remember off the top of my head. 23, I believe. 23, 25. We're putting some thread sealer on because these bottom holes they go straight into the transmission case. So if you would put them in dry or without Loctite or thread sealer or something, you could seep fluid out through these. All right. Now we'll load her back up.
Remember, lift with your back.
In a twisting, jerking motion. Making sure we're not hitting there. All right. So now, second gear band anchor. We're threading this through here. Backed it almost out too far. Shit. Can't sit on the ground.
All right.
So now what we're doing is we're prying on the sun shell and we're trying to check for end play here on the input shaft. We don't have any, not surprised by that since we fixed that completely worn out overdrive housing. So what we got to do is take this thing back apart. The pump over here. We've got to pull this back out. And we're going to trade out this Mickey Mouse washer for a thinner one. We got the thinnest one they got, a 50 thousandths, 54 thousandths. Then we're going to put
What was the other one?
71, I believe.
So that should give us about 20 thousandths of play.
Well, yeah, with the little wee bit that it had, we probably have around 30, which is what we're shooting for. 30 to 60 is the spec. Always shoot for the tight side of spec. There we go. Dropped right in. Now back to the pump. Probably stuck on one of our sealing rings here. See how it feels here. Cotton picking. Nothing wrong in there. Feel how hard that's hitting? Something is awry in there. We're gonna stick this on just in case something's being funny with this. I kind of doubt it, but stick this pump spacer on. I make all different thicknesses of these here for your end play. Uh-oh. What in the world am I missing, boys? I realized that I'd accidentally lifted the intermediate gear train out when I was trying to check end play, I suppose. So now we got to turn this around a little bit so that this falls down in. Terrible idea. Do not do that at home, kids. It was only because I didn't have my alignment tool for the overdrive. I had to tap that back down in. So, honestly,
It's ruined now.
Yeah, honestly, stay in school, kids. Go be an engineer or something. But then you may not get paid to travel the world working on stuff. I mean, I'm going to Florida. And Iceland. And Vermont. And New York. Blood, sweat, and tears, literally.
I haven't seen any tears yet, but
You're about to. We have to take this thing back apart a few more times. Yeah, we're good there. That's perfect. Got enough of these under my belt that yeah, we can bolt.
You're just that good.
Yeah, we can bolt that together with confidence. And if it doesn't work, I'll be in Maryland. I mean, Pennsylvania. So sounds like a them problem.
I don't feel like that's what a 2-year warranty means. Is that a
That's 2 years until I felt like it's been long enough.
2 years or 10 miles, whichever comes first?
Yeah. I'm going to be the new monster transmission. No matter what happens, after you've installed it, it's your fault. You did it wrong. Sorry about your luck.
Yep.
And that's my opinion on monster transmissions. I really, truly have no idea how they're still in business.
The true victim blamers.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I probably shouldn't have dressed this way.
Why?
You know, the victim blamers.
Oh.
Yeah. Now what we're doing is adjusting the second gear band. You can see I'm spinning this thing in here, tightening this all up. We're gonna crank it down real good and tight, nice and snug. And then we're gonna back it off so it's totally loose. Then we're gonna snug it again. And then we're gonna back it off a turn. Snug, 72 inch-pounds in spec. Now we're going to do a turn and a half. And then on this side, there is a lock nut that locks this. It's a very, very important adjustment. There we go. We're going to air check forwards and directs. You hear them thumping there, forwards. You hear them thump? Yep. That seals beautifully. Now we'll air check this. We're good there. That's about the right. Just get your tip of your finger under. I'm not going to air check that or I'll launch it to the moon. I'll air check the reverse. That's two. So, gone. Okay, when you're building a 48 RE, this goes under here to hold the low reverse band on the back side. I hate it here.
Taking it apart?
Yep.
How much?
Not very. I'm just in a hurry and I'm paying for it. More haste, less speed. It's never been more true. Yeah, let's sort of raggedy impact there. It's working. What's really going to suck is this is not going to want to come off because of... Okay, never mind. Ignore that.
That's where it goes.
That's where it goes. That could have been worse. It genuinely could have been
Yeah,
worse.
that doesn't seem that.
Yeah, don't do this either.
That is a dead blow, right?
That's that's the custom microfiber dead blow. You know what I'm really grateful for?
What's that?
New boot goofing. You got the tags on it, you know. We stay fresh around here.
You should have got them iced out gold shoes I was telling you to get.
I was on the fence, brother.
You'd have been a true Florida man.
You remember when we were going to wake up early this morning and have these transmissions done by lunchtime?
Yep.
Those were good.
Greatly regretting those extra hours of sleep, aren't we?
When we were young and carefree and full of dreams. I'm really missing my shop and all my nice fixtures and stuff for doing these right about now. And my air conditioner. Actually, right now, I probably miss my AC more than my wife, to be honest with you. Not probably, I do. Sorry, hon. All right, so now we're going to adjust our low reverse band. Exactly like you do the front one, just a different clearance here. We're going to take this in all the way. Now you can see that servo is locked out. They quit traveling unlike that other one. So we're going to take it in until it's just against. We didn't have quite the right shim to have it perfect. We have a tiny bit of travel. So just against. And 1, 2, 3.
3 turns.
Yep. 14 millimeter wrench here. Sir. Important thing, obviously with being 3 turns, that's not an exact science on a measurement. You just don't want it dragging going down the road. All right.
It is not too tight.
Yep. Exactly. Now let's air check that. That's beautiful. Plenty of flag. Let's air check this one again because we can. Right, so that people can see. Now that it has a few clicks on it, we'll check that clearance again. Yep, still good. Alrighty. We've got everything air checked. We have this spring in here. Overdrives are all on. Not really you can air check here that well, but now we're ready to put the valve body back in after replacing this seal. But what we're going to do, we're going to set this up so that the valve body park rod slips in easily. So what we're going to do, on a 47 RE, the park rod's a little small. You're going to put your extension in this way. On a 48 RE, to just kind of preset this to hopefully make your life easier, you're going to put this thing in this way, and you're going to turn your output shaft until that goes in. Then you're going to realize that this is not actually a 48 RE case. This is a 47 RE. Where's that valve body at? Let's take a little gander. No, that's a 48. What do we got going on here, boys? Might just be a snap-on thing. I always do it this way, which I have. Oh, that thing's been beat on. It's a little bit flared out. I'll say I have snap-on extensions. That's what I use. All right, let's get this seal replaced here. this trans on the side here. Little Loctite on that seal so it don't pop out. Socket, that's about the right size. Yeah, just below flush all the way around. Now, brake clean this off. Now that we've overhauled the valve body, we'll reinstall it. And I'm freshly reminded of the cuts I've already gotten working on this. Nothing like a little brake clean for that. I'll see if this one fights me as bad as that 47 did this morning. I ended up having to remove the park rod, install it, and then put the valve body in on that one. Okay, stroke of luck, boys. That fell in. Wow. Out of the
like a glove, man.
Yeah, out of the hundreds of these I've built, that's the first time I've ever had that happen. Where it literally fell in. Now we're going to do our valve body bolts here. We got 4 long boys here. Midland. Short one here and here. Missing a bolt. There we go. 11 millimeter. And we'll break out the torque wrench for that. We're gonna get fancy. But we're not gonna use it as a torque wrench. We're just gonna use it as a ratchet. No. 11 foot-pounds is what I like to hit on these, since we don't have an inch-pound wrench. I'm fairly certain this torque wrench is off. I've actually gone a little past the click because it's not 11 foot-pounds, I can tell. At home, I use a little paint marker, and I mark them after each torque, just so you know when you're done. You don't have to go back over them like this. Not that that's a bad idea.
Evidence.
Yeah. All right, now we're gonna throw a new filter on. All right. So what we're doing here, new filter, as we said. But this is the early style filter that flows a lot more, much less chance of plugging up. And like I said, I'm 99% sure that the filter plugging is what ended up killing the forward and direct clutches and melting that spacer. We are ready for our nice heavy-duty reusable pan gasket here. I've run these on all my builds. The ones that come with the kits are a joke. Put that on. Brake clean this pan out good.
Good deal.
Pan going on.
What do you think of this PPE pan?
So deep pans, in my opinion, do not help with cooling at all. What they do help with is on a light aluminum case like this, they can act as a girdle, kind of to stiffen the case up. The other thing that's really nice about them is they have ridges in the bottom, inside, that collect the dirt. So you'll have, it just lessens the chance of it getting sucked up into the filter, supposedly.
So there are some benefits to running a deep pan.
There are some benefits.
Is not one of them.
Yes, adding 2 to 4 quarts of fluid isn't going to make your transmission run cooler. It's going to simply take it another 30 seconds to get up the temperature. So to me, that's just marketing hype, snake oil, but they're not a waste of money either.
Run a big transmission cooler and one of these.
That's exactly right. Yep.
What temps do you like to see on these transmissions?
You're looking for about 100 degrees above ambient. So if it's 90 out and it's running 190, I mean, I don't like a transmission to run 190. Ideally, you keep it under 160 at all times. But if it's 90 degrees out and you're towing and it's running 190, 200 degrees, you'll be fine. But the cooler, the better. I mean, you want a transmission to last a long time. Clean fluid that's cool is all that matters. Any synthetic,
And the
AMSOIL,
and full.
yeah, and full, yes. They actually make a filter spacer that gets your filter lower down into the pan. I love those. Not everyone does. I'm a big fan. But yes, clean, cool fluid. It doesn't matter. Get it from Walmart and change it every 30,000 miles. You'll be way further off than running AMSOIL or Hot Shot Secrets or whatever else and running it to 80 for sure. There are supposed to be washers under the heads of these bolts, but they weren't here when
you took them off, so
yeah, they're going back on without them. Another thing about a Dodge transmission, these things love to strip the bolts out. Please, when you're putting your pan on, gently install them and then torque them to spec with a torque wrench. Otherwise, you're going to be helicoiling all the holes.
He said using an impact on every one of them.
Yes, but I'm a professional. As you'll notice, I did not cross thread that. That was like that when I got here. I think what it is, I think they're actually tightening the pan. See how the pan holes have been crushed down since there was no washers on them?
Yeah.
It's actually smaller than the bolt.
You have a specific pattern you need to tighten these in to keep it from warping?
Yeah, start in the center and work your way out. So boom, 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 boom. And you'll go like that. This
so
is actually,
on and so forth.
Yep. Impact shot. Another advantage of the deep pan is their bolts are a little longer than the factory ones. They go into the pan just a little bit deeper, or at least these are. Now, I do understand that the pan rail's thicker, so it has to make up for that, but yep, that was stripped out. Didn't even get snug before it's stripped. So, if we just have one stripped out like that, that'll be fine. Won't be an issue. If I come around here with this torque wrench and realize there's a bunch stripped out, we'll have to flip this thing over and do some helicoiling. They're not like that. And that's stripped all the way out. Probably you can get by there with getting a real long bolt, running it the whole way out through, since that one's not going, you actually got some space there. Same with this one. And the interesting thing is, the 47 we worked on this morning, both of those same two bolt holes were stripped out. Ooh, that one's about going too. That one will be okay, but it's not right either. That one's stripped out. We genuinely thought, foolishly, that we'd have both these transmissions done yesterday, early evening, put them in yesterday and today, and go ripping this afternoon. But
that did not happen.
Yeah, that did not happen. Put this puppy on its side. Now we're going to replace. I think I got a new one of these, the neutral safety switch. I think we're going to replace that. It's real nasty here. It looks like it was maybe leaking out through the case right there. It could have been this seal here leaking as well, making it look that way, but I'm just going to put a new one on since I have one. Oh, little tech tip. So, see this little button here?
Yeah.
So this is, you can't see in here hardly, but there's a little tiny spot of metal. You can see the shininess in there? Yep. That is how your transmission knows what gear it's in. It's where it's touching, and there's some circuitry in here. If your transmission, if you've had it apart and then it doesn't want to show park or show whatever, this can get bent. It can either get bent on the outside or Like these tabs can get bent down. The rooster comb, it's called in there, that can actually get bent. There's a few options, but that's just something to keep an eye out for if you suddenly have issues kind of out of nowhere. There's also some plastic on there that can break and come off, and it'll, let me think here, since it'll be all metal, it'll think that it's in park or neutral at all times, I believe. It's been a minute since I had to diagnose one of those, so I may be speaking out of turn there, but there we go. Now, put this puppy up. Now we can install our bearing retainer cover. You'll see these are full of dirt. I got lucky and got them out, but we're gonna dig that out in here. Do this before removing them, ideally.
Send them a little brake clean.
Yeah, a little brake clean, a little dirt, or a little air. And as I did earlier in the video, don't even try to take these out. Well, maybe if the trans was just rebuilt, but don't even try to take these out without whacking this cover with a hammer. You will twist off your Torx bit. You will be drilling, or round these out, you'll be drilling them out and getting bolts. Not the end of the world, but if you know that little trick, you can actually remove them.
Saves you some heartache.
Yeah. Uh-oh. Something must have fell down in that bowl hole. Yeah, please don't judge me by the smoothness of this build. This heat is an affront to God. No man should live in this climate. Yes, as you'll notice, there's a taper there. And a man with a little bit of forethought and attention to detail would have put it on the right way the first time. Hey, Ichi. Brake clean. That on there. Oh my word, that burns. Tap that on down there. These should both be 11s, but this, I wonder if this is an aftermarket shift lever there. Never seen this bolt here. I've never seen one that thick either, so I believe this is an aftermarket setup for at least the bolt, if not the actual lever itself as well. Now we've got our TV lever. It's going to go this way, like so. This is the aftermarket setup. Probably about 3/4 of the way back is where this thing ends up holding it. We'll tighten this down. CV lever stands for throttle valve. It controls upshifts, downshifts, pressure, a few different things. There is a reason that I don't build valve bodies. I have done it, I can do it, but there's a lot of magic, a lot of voodoo in there. I would prefer to let that to people with the tools and equipment to properly overhaul and then test before putting it into the truck. We're done. Things should be good to go. We got all new clutches except the overdrive brakes, new low reverse drum, new overdrive piston support, bunch of new gaskets and seals. We fixed the low reverse servo setup. My suspicion is this transmission was built for a regular valve body. Someone said, hey, I can put this in my 2000, I think it said 13 truck. Did not realize that you can't just put a full manual valve body in, that you actually have to make some changes in there. So we should be good to go. We'll get her in the truck and we'll know for sure in a day or two. So there you go.